So what kind of trade policy should we have, and can we just change this whole thing? Because I think this could be the winning message for Donald Trump in November. Joining me now, Gina Loudon, Mercedes Schlapp, and Scott Miller. Mercedes, I'll start with you. Listen, we've heard even from the Chamber of Commerce who weighed in on this saying trade with Mexico and Canada supports 14 million jobs, an increase of 5 million because of NAFTA. We change it. What do we change it to?
Can I ask you a question, Charles? It's been 20-some years. Don't you think it's time to renegotiate NAFTA? I think it makes complete sense. We see a very different case scenario in terms of our workforce changes that have happened here in the United States. And when you look back at NAFTA in particular, there was very few environmental or labor provisions in place. In fact, we know that many Mexican workers have been exploited through this process. We know that many jobs have left the U.S. Hundreds of thousands of jobs have left the U.S. to Mexico. And the mere fact is that I think it makes sense. Remember, President Obama in 2008 mentioned that he was going to renegotiate or fix NAFTA so it would benefit the American worker. And at the end, that is exactly the message that Donald Trump is sending, which is that to ensure that these trade deals are not just negotiated in thin air, that in fact we are making it so that the worker, the American worker, is benefiting from these trade agreements. You
know, ironically, guys, if anything, in the more recent years, the changes to NAFTA have probably helped the Mexican government and the Mexican economy more recently, in fact, Mexican truck drivers, before they had to stop at the borders and American truckers would pick up the goods. Now they can drive all the way through. So we know trucking being the #1 job in 29 states, that hurts. But here's the thing, though, Scott. We know that this is interesting because it resonates on Main Street, but you've got both sides of the establishment who are also pushing back.
Well, the establishment, established these rules, and these rules are not working for Main Street. And, I think it's a great point that the 20 years since these things were negotiated, so much has changed in American economy and the American manufacturing. You mentioned it, too. There's all kinds of new technology and new productivity. And that really has to be addressed in a new set of rules, a redefinition. And when people say, my God, they're going to start a trade war, well, what have they been doing? I mean, what has China been doing? Dumping products here, doing major hacking, stealing trade secrets. What would they do? It's like, if they say, no more Mr. Nice Guy, what are they going to be like then?
Yeah, of course, President Obama pushing back on this. What a day for him to get on stage with the other two guys, the presidents of Canada and Mexico. And, I mean, they took so many shots at Donald Trump, but they also, of course, tried to defend NAFTA. And I want you to listen quickly to what President Obama had to say.
My pushback on both the left and the right when it comes to protectionism or anti-trade arguments is you are right to be concerned about the trends, but what you're prescribing will not work.
Gina, maybe a pushback could be in 1993, we had a $1.5 billion trade surplus with Mexico, and last year it was a $60 billion trade deficit.
Yeah, well, he must be pretty afraid of what Donald Trump is going to do to his friends and to himself and to those whose pockets he's padded throughout his entire administration, for him to even be commenting on this right now. It's the other countries in this are like spoiled children, Charles. Like Mercedes said, it's a piggy bank. We are a piggy bank to them. And all you have to do, Charles, is look at the reality. In 1970, 63% of income went to the middle class. Today, that number is 43%. Something is devastatingly wrong. Where do we think the money has gone? It's gone to line the pockets of the very people opposing the innovative ideas that Mr. Trump has. And this sounds a lot like Brexit, if you think about it, Charles. A lot of people saying, oh, this is going to be the worst thing in the world. And you have the American people whose income has decreased as much as it has, saying, hey, you know what? I'm willing to take my chances.
There are a lot of stark parallels. Guys, thank you all very much. Appreciate it.